My name is Evelyn Harper, and for 15 years, I did not hear my son's voice. Not a phone call, not a birthday card, not even a text that said, "Mom, I'm alive," nothing. Just silence that grew heavier every year, until it felt like a stone on my chest every morning when I woke up in the little blue house by the lake that my husband Tom and I built with our own hands back in 1978. The lake house was everything to us. 2 stories wrap around porch pine floors that creaked in the same spots for 40 years. A dock that stretched out into water so clear you could see the fish swimming under your feet. Tom called it our forever place. He died in that house sitting in his old rocking chair on the porch, watching the sunset turn the water gold. Heart attack quick, peaceful, the way he always said he wanted to go. I held his hand until the ambulance came, even though I knew he was already gone. After the funeral, my son Daniel came home for 3 days. He was 35, then married to Lauren, 2 little girls I had only seen in pictures. He hugged me stiffly, said the house was too big for one person, that the upkeep was expensive, that the taxes were killing me. I told him I was fine, that I had my garden, my books, my neighbors, the lake. He looked around like he was already measuring for new furniture and said, "Mom, be reasonable. When the time comes, we'll sell it and you can move closer to us. You shouldn't be isolated out here." I didn't fight him. Mothers don't fight their only child, especially not at their husband's funeral. So I smiled, said, "Okay, whenever the time comes." Then he left, and the silence started. The first year I waited. I left the porch light on every night, the way I used to when he was a teenager, coming home late. I baked his favorite oatmeal raisin cookies at Christmas and mailed them to an address I found online. They came back unopened, with return to sender. No longer at this address. The second year I called, his number had changed Lauren's too. I wrote letters, real letters, on the blue stationery Tom bought me for our 30th anniversary. I told Daniel about the loons that came back every spring, about the way the ice sounded when it broke up on the lake, about how I still set 2 coffee cups on the table every morning, out of habit. The letters came back too, or they simply disappeared. By year 5, I stopped expecting anything. I turned 70 alone, 71 alone, 72, 73, 74. The lake house became my whole world. I kept the gardens blooming, painted the shutters every summer, fixed what I could fix, and learned to live with what I couldn't. Neighbors checked on me. Old friends from town brought casseroles when the snow got deep. I told everyone I was fine. I smiled the way women my age have been taught to smile, even when our hearts are cracked straight down the middle. I learned to live without needing anyone. I learned to fall asleep to the sound of water lapping the dock instead of a human voice saying goodnight. I learned that missing someone can become a quiet ache. You carry like an old purse, always there heavy, but you get used to the weight. Then one Tuesday in early May, 15 years after Tom died, the mailman handed me a thick cream-colored envelope with my name written in gold calligraphy. Inside was a wedding invitation. Daniel Harper and Sophia Reynolds request the honor of your presence at their marriage. Saturday, the 28th of June, at Lakeside Manor. My lake, my dock, my porch where Tom died, my house that Daniel had called too big and too expensive and isolated. For a long time, I just sat at the kitchen table holding the card. The paper was heavy, expensive. The inside flap had a photograph. Daniel and a beautiful young woman standing on my dock at sunset, arms around each other, smiling like they had invented happiness. Behind them was the house I had kept alive, with every penny of Tom's life insurance and every hour of my loneliness. There was a small note tucked inside, handwritten on the same cream paper. "Mom, it's been a long time. and there is so much to explain. Sophia and I want to start our life together in a place that means something. The lake house has been empty too long. We've done some renovations, but we've kept the heart of it the same. Please come. It would mean the world to us if you would be there to celebrate with the family. There's something important we need to discuss about the property, too. If you could bring the original deed and any paperwork Grandpa left, that would help make everything official and easy for everyone. We don't want Grandma's memory to burden the family forever. Love, Daniel. I read it 3 times. Then I put the invitation back in the envelope, set it on the table, and walked out to the porch. The lake was calm mirror, still reflecting the clouds like it had done every spring for 45 years. Sat in Tom's rocking chair, and I cried. Not loud. Just quiet tears that slid down my cheeks and dropped onto my lap while the loons called across the water. That night, I didn't sleep. I went through every drawer, every box in the attic, every file in Tom's old metal cabinet. I found the deed to the house recorded in 1980 in both our names. I found Tom's will simple and clear, witnessed by our lawyer and our neighbor. Everything to Evelyn Harper, and if I died before Daniel, then to him. I found the survey, the tax records. The paid-off mortgage marked satisfied in 2005. Everything was in my name alone. Now Daniel had never been on the deed. He had no legal claim at all. But he thought he did. Or he thought I was too old, too tired, too broken to fight. The next morning, I called Margaret, my neighbor, who used to be a real estate paralegal. Before she retired, I showed her the invitation and the note. She read it, looked at me over her glasses, and said, "Evelyn Harper, that boy is trying to steal your house right out from under you on your own porch." I nodded. I already knew. Margaret made some phone calls. Old friends still in the county clerk's office. A retired judge who fished the lake every summer by afternoon. I knew everything. 6 years ago, Daniel had filed a quitclaim deed, transferring the property from me to himself. My signature was on it, shaky, crooked, nothing. Like my real handwriting, he had recorded it quietly, paid the taxes in my name, so I never noticed the bills stopped coming to me, and then let the house sit empty while he waited for me to die, or forget, or just give up. He had changed the locks too. I never knew, because I never left. I thought I was living in my own home. I was living in a home that had been stolen from me for 6 years, while I slept in it, cooked in it, rocked on its porch, and missed my only child. Margaret called a lawyer friend named Robert Kincaid. He came to the lake house that afternoon. Tall gray hair, kind eyes, and a voice that made law feel simple. He took one look at the invitation, the forged deed, Tom's will, and my smiling face, and said, "Mrs. Harper, this is fraud, elder abuse, and felony forgery. You own the house free and clear. Your son has no legal right to even step on the property without your permission. And he's planning a wedding there in 3 months." I asked what I should do. Robert smiled the way Tom used to when he had a good plan. "First, we do nothing. We wait. We let Daniel believe he has won. Then we show up at the wedding with the sheriff and the correct deed. And we watch the groom get married in the only suit he'll be wearing for the next few years. An orange one." I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. I just felt a calm settle over me, like the water after a ripple. 15 years of being invisible. 15 years of swallowing silence. And now my boy was going to learn that quiet mothers can still have teeth. The next 3 months passed slow and fast at the same time. Slow because every sunrise reminded me what was coming. Fast because I had things to do for the first time in years. Robert Kincaid came to the house twice a week. We sat at the kitchen table with coffee and papers spread everywhere. He filed a quiet title action to remove the forged deed from the records. He got a restraining order that said Daniel could not sell, rent, or marry on my property. He prepared criminal complaints for forgery, fraud, and elder financial abuse. But we held them like cards we might not need to play yet. Margaret helped me pack away Tom's old rocking chair in the attic, so nothing would get damaged when the guests arrived. She also baked 6 apple pies and froze them because she said weddings always need more dessert than people think. I kept gardening. I kept painting the porch rail white. I kept waving to the mailman and telling everyone I was excited about my son's wedding. I was excited, but not the way they thought. Daniel sent more messages. Mom, are you coming? Mom, we booked the string quartet. Mom, the florist needs to know if you like peonies or roses. I never answered. I wanted him to sweat. I wanted him to picture me confused and old, bringing a folder of papers ready to sign anything he put in front of me. Sophia, his fiancée, started posting on social media pictures of my dock with the caption, "Our dream venue," pictures of my living room with new furniture, and the caption, "Before the magic pictures of my kitchen island, covered in wedding magazines," and the caption, "Where memories will be made." I saved every post. Robert said they were evidence of trespass and intent to defraud. The week before the wedding, a big white truck pulled up and men started putting up a huge white tent on my lawn. They strung fairy lights in my maple trees. They set up rows of white chairs facing my dock. They rolled in a wooden arch wrapped in roses and baby's breath. I watched from the porch, drinking iced tea like it was any other Saturday. Margaret sat beside me, fanning herself. "They really think you're just going to hand it over," she said. I nodded. They really do. The night before the wedding, Daniel and Sophia arrived with carloads of family and friends. They carried boxes of decorations, champagne cases, sleeping bags. They parked 4 cars in my driveway. They laughed loud on my porch like they had always belonged there. I stayed inside with the lights off. I watched through the curtains as Daniel stood on the dock with his arm around Sophia, pointing at the water, telling stories about fishing with his dad, stories about a childhood he walked away from. I went to bed early. I slept better than I had in 15 years. The morning of the wedding was perfect. June blue sky, warm sun, soft breeze off the lake. Guests started arriving at 10 o'clock. Fancy cars, expensive dresses, men in linen suits, women in big hats. They oohed and awed over the venue. How charming, how rustic chic. How perfect for Instagram. The string quartet played on my side lawn. The caterers set up tables under the tent with white tablecloths and mason jars full of wildflowers. A photographer ran around taking pictures of everything. At 11:30, the groomsmen gathered on the dock, laughing and passing a flask. Daniel looked handsome in his navy suit. He looked happy. He looked like he had won. At 11:45, the bridesmaids lined up in pale blue dresses, holding bouquets of peonies. At 11:50, the music changed to something soft and romantic. Guests took their seats facing the arch where the minister waited. Sophia's father walked her down the aisle on the grass path they had laid over my lawn. She was beautiful. Veil, floating smile, bright eyes only on Daniel. The minister began, "Welcome, family and friends. We are gathered here on this beautiful day." At that exact moment, Robert Kincaid's black SUV pulled into the driveway, followed by 2 sheriff's deputies in a marked car. The music kept playing for 3 more seconds, then the violinist saw the uniforms and stopped. Mid-note, every head turned. I stepped out onto the porch in my Sunday dress, the one I wore to Tom's funeral. Simple navy with white collar pearls Tom gave me. In 1985, I carried a manila folder in one hand and my house keys in the other. Robert walked beside me, the deputies behind us. The crowd went dead silent. Daniel's face went white. Sophia's mouth opened like she might scream, but no sound came. "Good morning, everyone," I said, my voice carried clear across the lawn, because the lake makes sound travel. "This is my home. You are all trespassing." Daniel started toward me. "Mom, what are you doing? This is my wedding." One of the deputies held up a hand. "Sir, step back. We have paperwork." Daniel stopped. The other deputy began handing out copies of the restraining order and the quiet title judgment to the minister, the wedding planner. Anyone who looked confused, Robert spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "For the record, this property belongs solely to Mrs. Evelyn Harper. The quitclaim deed recorded 6 years ago was forged. Daniel Harper has no ownership interest. He has no right to host events here or allow guests on the premises. The wedding cannot continue." Daniel found his voice. "This is a mistake. Mom, you're confused. You signed the papers years ago." "I have never signed anything giving you my house," I said. "Calm. I have the original deed right here." I held up the folder. "And the county has removed your forged document from the records this morning." Daniel looked at his friends, his future in-laws. The photographer who was still taking pictures like this was part of the show. Sophia started crying. "Mom, please, not today. We can talk after." "This is my house," I said again. "There is no after for you here. You have 30 minutes to remove every chair, every flower, every bottle of champagne, and every guest, or the sheriff will do it for you and arrest anyone who refuses to leave." The minister closed his book and stepped away from the arch. "I think we should all go," he said quietly. Guests started standing up, whispering, grabbing purses, looking embarrassed. Sophia's father tried to reason. "Ma'am, this is my daughter's wedding day." "I understand, sir," I said. "And this is my home, where my husband died, where I raised my son, where I have lived alone for 15 years. Because he chose to disappear. Today is also the day. I take it back." Daniel's best man tried to laugh it off. "Dude, your mom is punking us, right?" Daniel didn't answer. He knew I wasn't. A woman in a pink hat asked loudly, "Is this real?" The deputy nodded. "Ma'am, very real. Eviction in progress. Please vacate the property." Chairs started scraping. People hurried toward cars. Some grabbed gifts. Some left them. The caterers began folding tables. The tent company showed up 20 minutes early because Robert had called them. 2. By 12:30, the lawn was almost empty. Only Daniel, Sophia, her parents, and 4 bridesmaids remained. Sophia was sobbing into her father's shoulder. Daniel stood in the middle of the grass, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. "Mom," he said, voice cracking. "Can we talk? Just us." "No," I said. "You had 15 years to talk. You chose a different way." Robert handed Daniel an envelope. "Inside are the criminal complaints. Forgery, fraud, elder abuse. They are ready to file the moment you step off my property again without permission. You can avoid jail if you sign a new deed today, transferring everything back to me, and agree never to contact me again." Daniel opened the envelope. His hands shook. He looked at Sophia, who was still crying. He looked at the house he thought was his. He looked at me. "You'd really send your own son to prison?" "I already lost my son 15 years ago." I said, "The man standing there is a stranger who stole from his mother today." "I'm simply taking back what is mine." Sophia's father stepped forward. "Mrs. Harper, we had no idea. Please have mercy on the children." I looked at him. "My grandchildren," I said. "I have never met them because their father cut me out of their lives. Mercy was never shown to me." Daniel took the pen Robert offered him. He signed the new deed with shaking hands. He signed the agreement never to return. He signed away every lie he had built. When he finished, he tried to hand me the pen. "Mom, I'm sorry." The words came too late. I took the pen, but I didn't touch his hand. "Sheriff," I said, "please escort these people off my land." The deputies moved forward. Daniel walked away, without looking back. Sophia followed, still crying in her wedding dress, that cost more than my car. The cars drove away. One by one, the lawn was empty, except for scattered rose petals and a few forgotten programs that fluttered in the breeze. I stood on the porch and watched until the last taillight disappeared. Then I walked down to the dock where Tom and I used to sit. Every evening, I sat on the edge, let my feet dangle in the water, and cried. Not from sadness, from relief. The house was mine again. Truly mine. 15 years of silence were over. The afternoon after the wedding that never happened, I sat on the dock until the sun went down. The rose petals floated away on the water like tiny pink boats. The white tent came down in less than an hour. The chairs were loaded onto trucks. The arch was disassembled and carried off. The caterers took every bottle, every plate, every leftover sandwich. Margaret came over with a bottle of champagne. The real kind. Not the cheap stuff people bring to weddings. We sat in Tom's rocking chairs, on the porch, and drank straight from the bottle like teenagers. She toasted to justice. I toasted to silence, finally being useful. The next morning, the story was everywhere. Local news picked it up first. Bride left at the altar by her mother-in-law. Then the headlines got meaner. Groom's own mother evicts wedding, with sheriff viral video shows, bride crying in grass. By noon it was on national sites. Mother stops son's wedding after discovering forged deed. The video someone filmed on a phone had 20 million views already. You could hear my calm voice clear as the lake. This is my house. You are all trespassing. My phone started ringing. Reporters, talk shows, podcasts. Even a producer from a big morning show in New York. I let it ring. I had nothing to sell. I unplugged the landline and turned the cell on silent for 3 days. I did nothing but walk the house room by room, touching walls, remembering I baked bread the way Tom liked it. Thick crust soft inside. I opened every window and let the lake air blow through, chasing out 15 years of waiting. In the evenings, I sat on the dock and watched the loons teach their babies to dive. On the 4th day, Robert Kincaid came with a thick folder. The new deed was recorded in my name only clean forever. Daniel had signed everything under duress of criminal charges, but it was legal and binding. Robert also brought a check from the title insurance company. They had insured the forged deed by mistake, and now they paid me $250,000 for the trouble quiet settlement. No lawsuit. I stared at the check. For the first time in my life, I had money that was not from working, or waiting, or worrying. Margaret took me to the bank herself. The teller's eyes got big when she saw the amount. I opened a new account in my name only. Evelyn Harper, sole owner. That night, I ordered real steaks from the butcher in town, not the cheap cuts I used to buy. I grilled them on the porch, ate with my hands like a cave woman, and laughed out loud because no one was there to tell me, ladies don't do that. A week later, a letter came from Daniel forwarded by Robert. It was 6 pages long. He wrote about how sorry he was, about how he had debts, how Sophia wanted the perfect wedding, how he thought I would never notice, how he planned to let me live there forever anyway, just not own it. He said he had lost everything. Sophia left him. The deposits were non-refundable. His friends stopped speaking to him. His job was in danger because the news reached his boss. He begged me to drop the charges, to let him explain in person, to give him one more chance. I read it once, then fed it page by page into the fireplace. I watched the words curl and blacken and turn to ash. The charges stayed filed. The sheriff served him personally 2 days later. Daniel did not fight. He took a plea deal, 18 months probation. community service, 200 hours picking up trash on highways, and a permanent criminal record for felony forgery. Sophia filed for annulment the same week. I never heard from her again. Summer turned into fall. The leaves on my maples went red and gold the way they always did. I hired a young couple from town to paint the house, fresh blue with white trim. They asked if I wanted to sell. Now that prices were high, I said no. This house is not for sale. It never will be. In October, a woman named Clara drove up from the city. She was 68, divorced twice, children who never called. She had seen the video and wanted to know how I found the courage to stand up after so many years silent. We sat on the porch drinking tea, and I told her the truth. Courage is not something you find. It is something you build one quiet day at a time when no one is watching. Clara cried. She asked if she could bring friends. Next month, 5 women came, all over 60, all with stories of children who took houses, money, dignity. We met every Tuesday on my porch. We drank tea, ate apple pie, told the truth out loud for the first time. By December, we were 12. The Lake House Women. We called ourselves. Someone made little business cards. Someone else started a private Facebook group. Reporters kept calling, but we said no. This was not for cameras. This was for healing. In January, the county asked if I would speak at a senior fraud prevention seminar. I said yes. I stood in front of 200 older people and told them my story plain. No drama, no tears. I told them to check their deeds every year, to keep copies of everything, to never sign anything they didn't understand. By the end, half the room was crying, but they were clapping too. A lawyer in the audience offered free deed checks for anyone who needed one. 30 people signed up that day. Spring came early that year. The ice went out in March. The loons returned. I turned 76 alone, but not lonely. I planted extra peonies along the walkway, pink and white, like wedding flowers. But these were mine. In April, a letter came. No return address. Just my name and handwriting. I knew Daniel's. He wrote only 4 lines. Mom, I wear an orange vest on the highway every Saturday. I pick up other people's trash. I think about you every time I bend over. I hope one day you can forgive me. I didn't write back. Forgiveness is a long road, and he had only just started walking. In May, exactly 1 year after the wedding, that wasn't. I woke up to the smell of coffee. I had set the timer the night before. Real beans, not instant. I walked to the dock in my robe and watched the mist rise off the water. My phone buzzed, a text from Clara. The group is coming today with cake and champagne. It's the anniversary of the day you took your house back. I smiled. I had forgotten the date, but they remembered. That afternoon, 12 cars pulled into my driveway. Women got out carrying cakes, coolers, folding chairs, blankets. They spread everything on the lawn, like the wedding that never happened, but this time, with laughter and real joy. We ate. We toasted. We told new stories of houses, saved children, faced money returned. One woman brought her daughter, who had tried to put her in a nursing home to sell the family farm. The daughter cried, apologized, signed the house back. That night, we lit a bonfire on the beach. We threw into the flames copies of forged deeds, bad powers of attorney letters from greedy children. The fire roared high and bright and clean. When the last paper turned to ash, Clara raised her glass. To Evelyn, who taught us that silence can be a weapon and truth can be a celebration. We drank. The stars came out over my lake, my dock, my porch, my house. I looked around at these women who were strangers a year ago and family now, and I felt something I had not felt since Tom died. Peace. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of something stronger. I walked to the end of the dock alone. The water was black mirror reflecting the moon. I spoke out loud for the first time in 15 years. Tom, I took it back. Our home is safe. The women are safe. I am safe. I miss you every day, but I am not waiting anymore. I heard a loon answer from the darkness, like it understood. Summer came again. The lake house. Women grew to 25. We started a small fund with my settlement money to help older women hire lawyers when children steal. We called it the Evelyn Fund because they insisted. The first check went to a woman in Ohio whose son had done exactly what Daniel tried. Margaret turned 80, and we threw her a party on my lawn with live music and dancing. Until midnight, I danced with Robert Kincaid, who asked if he could take me to dinner sometime. I said yes. Life, it turns out, does not end at 76. It just changes shape. Fall came again. The leaves turned the color of fire, and the lake reflected it like a mirror on the second anniversary of the day I took my house back. The lake house women decided we needed a real celebration, not just cake on the lawn, but something permanent. We bought a small piece of land next to my dock, just 20 feet wide, a narrow strip that had been for sale for years. We put up a simple wooden sign, hand-painted by Clara, in careful white letters. The Evelyn Sanctuary for Quiet Justice. Under it, a smaller line, a safe place to speak the truth. We planted 12 rose bushes, one for each original woman, and a bench facing the water, made from the old wood of my dock that had finally rotted through. Robert Kincaid came to the dedication in a suit and tie, but took off his jacket and helped dig the holes. We drank apple cider, not champagne this time, because fall felt right for something warm and real. That night I stood on the new bench and told them what I had never said out loud before 2 years ago. I thought my story ended with betrayal. I thought 76 was too late to start anything new. You proved me wrong. You proved that starting over is not about age. It is about deciding one day that enough is enough, and then doing something about it. They clapped and cried and hugged me until I could barely breathe. In November, Daniel finished his probation. The sheriff sent me the official letters, case closed, community service, completed, no further charges. I folded the letter and put it in the fireplace with the others. I did not feel victory, only the quiet turning of a page. Winter came early that year. Snow before Thanksgiving. I shoveled my own walk for the first time in years, because I wanted to feel my body strong and able. Margaret watched from her window and shook her head like I was crazy, but she smiled. While she did it on Christmas Eve, Robert drove through the storm with a tiny tree for my living room. We decorated it with the old ornaments Tom and I bought when Daniel was small. Glass icicles, paper stars, a crooked angel Daniel made in 3rd grade. Robert kissed me under the mistletoe, soft and careful, like he was asking permission. I kissed him back, and for the first time in 15 years, Christmas did not hurt. In January, a young reporter came to the house. She was 28, nervous, polite. She asked if I would let her write a book about the lake house women. I said only if every woman gets to tell her own chapter. In her own words, the book came out the next fall. It hit the bestseller list, not because of me, but because of all of us. Mothers, grandmothers, widows, divorcees. Women who had been told to be quiet and finally refused the dedication page, read to every woman who swallowed silence and then learned to spit fire. Spring brought new women. Some drove hours, some flew, some took buses with one small suitcase. They came to the sanctuary bench, sat, cried, told their stories, and left lighter. We never charged money. We only asked that when they were ready, they helped the next woman. The circle grew. In May, I turned 78. I woke up to 30 cars in my driveway. Women everywhere carrying balloons, cakes, presents. A banner strung between the trees that said, "Evelyn, you taught us how to roar quietly." I laughed until I cried. They sang happy birthday off key, and perfect Robert stood beside me, holding my hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. That summer, we added a second bench, and then a third. The sanctuary became known up and down the East Coast. Lawyers sent clients support groups, held retreats. Churches brought busloads of seniors to hear us speak. I always said the same thing. Check your deeds today. Love your children, but trust your papers more in August. Daniel wrote again this time, a short note on plain paper. Mom, I have a job again. I rent a small apartment. I coach Little League on weekends. The kids ask about their grandmother. Sometimes I tell them she lives by a beautiful lake, and one day, maybe they can meet her if she wants. I still wear the lessons you taught me every day. I hope you are happy, Daniel. I read it on the dock at sunset. The loons were calling their babies already grown. I folded the letter and slipped it into my pocket. I did not answer yet, but I did not burn it either. Some doors stay closed, some stay cracked open. Only time decides in September. Robert asked me to marry him. He did it on the sanctuary bench at dawn, with coffee in tin mugs and no ring. Because he said I already had everything I needed. He just wanted to sit beside me for whatever years were left. I said, yes. We married in October. On my dock, 30 women in Sunday dresses. Robert in his only suit. Clara walked me down the aisle because she said family is who shows up. We said simple vows. I promised to speak the truth. You promised to listen. We danced to an old radio. No band. No tent. Just us, and the water and the leaves falling like confetti. Winter came again, but softer this time. Robert shoveled the walk. I baked bread. We drank coffee on the porch, wrapped in the same blanket the lake house women still met. Every Tuesday, some in person, some on Zoom faces from California, Florida, even Canada. All connected by one quiet afternoon, when a mother said no more. On the 3rd anniversary of the day I took my house back, we planted a small tree on the sanctuary land, a sugar maple that will turn red every fall. We hung a plaque on it in memory of the silence we broke and the voices we found. I stood back and looked at the benches, the roses, the tree, the women laughing and talking, and I understood something simple. My story did not end with betrayal. It only changed direction. The house by the lake is still mine. The dock is still mine. The porch is still mine. But now the love is bigger. The table is longer. The quiet is stronger, because it is shared. Robert and I sit there every evening now, his hand in mine watching the sun set, the same way Tom and I did, but different, because life gave me a second chapter I never expected. And I took it with both hands. 4 years have passed since the wedding that never happened. I am 82 now, my hair is completely white. My hands have more spots, but my back is straight and my voice is steady. The lake house looks exactly the same. From the outside, fresh blue paint white trim, the dock repaired every spring. But inside it is fuller photos, on every wall. Not just of Tom and me and young Daniel, but of 35 women who call this home base. The sanctuary has grown. We bought the strip next door too. Now there is a small cabin with 3 bedrooms, a kitchenette, a meeting room heated for winter. We call it the Quiet House. Women come for a weekend a week, sometimes a month. They sleep in real beds, eat real food, talk until they are empty, then fill up again with something stronger. The Evelyn Fund has given away almost $1 million, all from donations, book royalties, speaking fees. No government money, no big sponsors, just women helping women. Robert and I married 4 years ago, still live in the big house, but the quiet house is always ready. The maple tree we planted is tall. Now its leaves turn blood red every October. We hang new plaques every year. One for each woman who took back her house, her money, her life last fall. We added Daniel's name not for forgiveness, but for truth. The plaque says, in memory of the son who taught us what betrayal feels like and how strong mothers become when they stop swallowing it. He saw it. He came alone one Saturday in September. No warning. He parked at the end of the drive, walked slow, like he was afraid the ground would open. He stood by the tree, read the plaque. His shoulders shook. He did not come to the door. He left a small wooden loon on the sanctuary bench and carved rough but beautiful with a note. Grandma, if the kids can ever fish here, I will teach them to leave no trace. Thank you for teaching me, Daniel. I kept the loon on my kitchen windowsill. I have not answered yet, but the door is cracked open a little more every year. This spring, the book became a documentary. Women from the group flew in, told their stories on camera. No actors, no drama, just real faces, real tears, real laughter. It aired on public television. Then Netflix picked it up overnight. Millions watched the scene, where I stand on the porch saying, "This is my house. You are all trespassing," trended for weeks. Old women wrote letters. Young women sent videos saying, "I checked my deed today because of you." Lawyers reported a surge in elderly clients bringing in papers to review the ripple became a wave. Robert turned 78. We renewed our vows on the dock at sunrise. Just us and Clara as witness. We wore jeans and sweaters, said the same simple promises. I promised to speak the truth. You promised to listen. Then we ate pancakes with the women in the quiet house. Life is quiet again, but not empty. The loons still come back, every year. Their babies grow strong and loud. I still bake bread, still paint the shutters, still watch sunsets. But now Robert sits beside me, his hand warm in mine. Some nights we talk about Tom, I tell stories. Robert never minds. Some nights we talk about Daniel. I say, maybe one day. Robert says, when you are ready. Not before the sanctuary women keep growing. We are 52 now. Spread across 12 states, we meet online every Tuesday in person. Every fall for a weekend of apple-picking bonfires. Truth-telling. No one is turned away. No one is judged. We only ask that you leave lighter than you came this morning. I woke early. The lake was glass. The mist rose slow. I walked to the dock in my robe. The wooden loon Daniel carved sat on the railing where I left it. I picked it up, turned it in my hands. It has been there 4 years waiting. I took my phone, typed a short message, the first in 19 years. The lake is calm. The loons are teaching. Their young come fishing Saturday. If you bring the grandchildren, leave the past in the car, I will make sandwiches, love, Mom. I pressed send. My heart did not race. It just settled like the mist burning off in the sun. I do not know if he will come. I do not know if I am ready for the noise of little feet on my dock again. But I know this. I am no longer waiting. I am living. The house is mine. The life is mine. The choice is mine. They stole 15 years and called it family. I reclaimed the rest and called it freedom. I am Evelyn Harper. I live by the lake in the blue house with the wraparound porch. I am 82. I am married to a good man who listens. I am mother to a son who is learning. I am grandmother, maybe soon. I am friend to 52 warriors who roar quietly. I am the woman who said enough and meant it. The water is still. The sky is still. The loons still call. But now when I answer, my voice is clear, strong, unafraid. This is my house. This is my life, and no one will take it again. Not in silence. Not ever.